you
They're
know?
they're chasing that dollar. They're trying to turn and burn. They want it out for the next one, and then they need
Yeah,
that money. And a
yeah.
lot of time people come into this industry as, I wouldn't say an act of desperation, but a means to an end for themselves. What's up, dude?
Hey, man.
You okay?
How you doing?
Good, I'm good. Just figuring this whole thing out. How are you, brother? How's everything?
Oh, man, I am good. How are
Good.
you?
I'm well, man. Is the audio good? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not late.
No, you're fine.
Just want to make
You're fine. No, man, no, I'm trying to, dude, I'm super late to the game, man. I'm trying to, like, be more social media presence with my business.
me too.
It's tough, dude, because I'm not like that. I don't I hate posting things. I hate trying to think of. So thank God for Chat GPT because I
Dude, I
can
was just
go
thinking that
make
right
me
now.
I can go
ChatGPT is
make
like a
me a
lifesaver.
make me a post for so
Dude,
yeah,
it works.
dude,
It works well, man. I mean,
it, it
it's
does.
beneficial in a pinch because then it just takes the guesswork and the thinking out of it for you.
It does, man. I mean, we did that thing with Walt a couple of weeks back talking about it. I don't know if you caught that episode. We talked about like the benefits of using ChatGPT for your business
Yeah.
um and I started playing around like I don't know, maybe earlier this month or so. Um because my buddy who built my new website for me was really talking about utilizing YouTube, and I know it's something that Chris had talked about for a long time with roadmap and everything, and I just like never really did anything. And my buddy was like, dude, you do all these walkarounds, like put them up as YouTube shorts, just
Bro.
quick, quick and easy, you know. Oh, you got the glasses.
May as well just. I mean, you ever you ever see SpongeBob SquarePants for kids watch SpongeBob or whatever?
Yeah,
You ever see where he got those glasses on? He looks like he's netting up some jellyfish. That's
yeah.
what I look like in that thing, dude.
Nice, nice.
I look
But
like
yeah,
a damn fool. But I think that's kind of beneficial if you're gonna, if like you don't want to pose and you want to be live. Like
yeah,
something as silly as wearing those glasses, it's a POV kind of thing. So it's
yeah,
like you can kind of just be natural. Talk about what you talk about. Um, correspond with the client, your staff, or whatever you're doing, or talk about what
yeah.
you're doing.
How's
Without having
the
to feel like your face front.
Yeah, how's the audio quality on those?
Dude, it's surprisingly nice. I
Is
just
it?
got these the other day, and I set them all up and stuff, and like kind of played with like how to go through them and the volume settings and all this other stuff. And when the music came on, it was like crystal clear. It was
Wow.
in, it was like it was in my ear without having it be physically
Yeah,
in my ear like the AirPods.
yeah.
I like it a lot, dude. It's actually kind of cool. Do I look goofy? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think I look like a goof, but in the same token, if you're like face fronting something and you're
Yeah,
trying to explain or kind of just get some content going, it's kind of beneficial, man. I like it.
that might be an idea, man. Like, Michelle was talking about getting them. She wanted them. Um, I don't know why, because it's not like she really like videos a lot, but I don't know. She was talking about getting them. But that makes a lot. I've noticed a lot of detailers now wearing them, and using them for different things, and that's a good point because
Let's go.
my biggest hang up is when I'm doing the job, the last thing I want to do is stop, set my camera up, try to get a good angle, to capture.
It's free anymore. You're
Yeah,
having to slow your processes and what you're doing to kind of capture whatever's going on, talk to your audience or whomever it may be. And this, it's just on your face. You just go. It's already doing the job for you. and you don't have to physically stare at your screen to interact. It's just people are just getting what they're getting is
Yeah.
your POV of what you've got going on in the day. So I do like that part of it. I haven't really used them yet, but just the idea of it and seeing how other people did it. Anthony Carrera actually showed me these.
Uh-huh.
I think it was last SEMA or the SEMA before. He's like, dude, you got to see these things. And I wasn't too sold on it because, again, I look goofy in glasses. So I was
Yeah.
like, this isn't going to work for me. But as a tool in a business, I see it as a key benefit because if you're really trying to showcase something for an audience, or like-minded people, or create some type of how-to video or something,
Yeah.
you can physically be hands-on and doing what you're doing, staring, and you don't have to hold a camera or have somebody be behind you with a camera. Like I have my video guy here right now, and he can do all that stuff. But if I'm alone or he's not here, or I'm in a pinch or something, I'm able to throw those things on and create a short, do a video, or do a live stream or something like that. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it just uploads to your account or
Mhm.
something like that?
As far as I know, yes. I mean, I could be 100. I could be wrong
Yeah.
on this.
I have
Like I
to
said,
look
I'm
yeah.
still green with this, like very green. What are you
I have to
doing?
look
Oh,
into it.
that's the Honda that's here. Sorry about that.
I have to look
Uh,
into it then, because that does sound like a good idea. Yeah, because like, I started posting up these shorts, dude, and, like, I'll do one, like, every other day or every
mhm.
3rd day, um, because 'cause I'm not high volume, so, like, I don't have, a ton of cars every day to do videos on. But, dude, like, the last 7 or 8 videos that I've put up as shorts are cranking, like, 1,400 views now,
See, that's
which
nice.
which is not bad.
And the thing is, like for me, I'm gonna get ready to start monetizing my content
Okay.
and doing like I got a buddy who builds like TikToks and TikTok platforms and stuff like
Yeah.
that, like the creator program or whatever that is.
Right, right.
So I do have my guy Sergio. He shoots everything for us, but in retrospect, they're saying that the video has to be over a minute long, and hopefully the people engage with the entire video. So I
Yeah.
try to create something that's captivating enough to like keep your focus on that. But I'm also learning that on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, the shorts are where it's at. Like
Yeah.
people's attention spans aren't that long to sit there for a minute. I can tell you right now, I don't watch a TikTok for a whole minute for the
I
most
don't
part.
I don't
I
either unless it's like a good, funny, like, sketch
Correct,
or
or it's something
skit
that's
or
educational,
yeah.
or something that's gonna give me a benefit, or something that I'm intrigued by.
Yeah.
I won't sit there for a minute and watch it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So there's your cross to bear, your little double-edged
Yeah.
sword there is like figuring out, what audience you want to capture. Like if you're trying to do like a how-to video, I think a minute long video would be nice because you're
Right.
kind of explaining the process of elimination on that. But in the same token, if you have a short, something cool, little background music, dope editing, 15, 30 seconds, something like that, Sergio?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what they're saying is
Yeah,
like the key?
that's what, ChatGPT told me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually my walk around videos are like 30, 35 seconds,
Mhm.
and then I'll just go into, like, the music, and I'll pick, like, a new release, something that's not, like, on a bajillion reels already or stories already or whatever. I try to
Some of a
pick
little bit of
something.
originality.
Yeah, try to pick something that's a new release, maybe is, under 1,000. Um, and I try to pick something that is maybe by an artist that the name I recognize, because then I
Mhm.
know, like, okay, well, that's gonna be a big artist. It probably will pop off down the line, so that might help. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing. And I even went into ChatGPT the other day and had it create a weekly calendar for me of what what time to post every day, what
Mhm.
platform to post every day, and, like, what to post, whether it's a reel or a story or a post.
Yeah.
And so I've been
And those things
following
actually
that.
they kinda help you to understand, like, where you get the most engagement too,
Yeah.
is by the time that you post it is where most people are either, I don't know when to post. He probably has a
Yeah.
better idea of it than I do, but, when I see it, he sends it, I post it, it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, let's just get this done," because if I don't, I'm gonna forget.
Yeah.
But
6 o'clock.
yeah, he said like 6 p.m. is probably the best,
6?
our time, so,
Yeah.
you
And then
know
Yeah.
or super early in the morning, like 7 a.m.
Yeah,
So everyone
that's
sees the post.
Yeah, ChatGPT was telling me like most days for me is like between 10 and 11 because
Okay,
people are, that's usually when people are like settled in at work and if they're going to
going to
look
their
for right, right. And then
now, is this by your demo or not your demographic, but your geographical stance, like where you're
yeah,
at
yeah,
physically?
yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah, I
cool.
did it
That's
and
crazy how Chat GPT gets so deep into things, you know?
right, right. And I mean it's over the time that I've been using it, I mean it learns so like if I say my business, it knows Detail Solutions Auto Spa. If I ask it something for the podcast, it knows Detail Solutions podcast. If I say
That's
something
cool.
for um the coding brand that I work for, it knows
Mhm.
Aquatech,
That's so
so
cool.
like it yeah, it's crazy that I can like I don't have to specify like make something for Detail Solutions Auto Spa, make something for Detail Solutions Podcast, make something for Aquatech. I can just say, hey, we've got a new product coming out. I need a name for it. It does this thing. And it's like Aquatech, blah, 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 blah. And it'll give me like 10
Nice.
different name ideas. Or I can say, like, hey, for my business, I need a post for whatever. And it knows that it's the auto spa and it's not a post for the podcast. So yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, and over times I've asked it different things like, um, what was it? I just asked it a while back because it was right after we did the thing with Walt, because Walt did a whole thing where he asked it what was it? Oh shoot. It was like the demographics of like his city, and it broke it down to like the population, the average income, and then like how how many competitors he had, and then how he could, target where his strengths were, where his weaknesses were against his
Mhm.
competitors. And then, hey, he could type in his competitor and it would give the strengths and weaknesses. So he knew how to like counterattack it with an ad or a post or something. So like I did that for here for like the Sanford Lake Mary area. So like now it knows like when I type something in, when I say give me, create a post for a reel or something, like it'll say, "Hey, Lake Mary Sanford residents, you want your car to shine like this one, like da 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 da." And then like in the hashtags, it'll Central Florida detailing, Lake Mary detailing, Sanford detail. Like, dude, it's crazy,
That
man.
is
Like,
cool. We recently did a text campaign with Urable,
uh huh,
and I utilized ChatGPT for that particular message. I said, "Hey, let's create like a springtime, get the crud off your car, yada yada yada.
yeah,
You sign up first. This many people get X Y Z, and they created this really really solid text message. And I mean, I could send it to you. I could share it to you, but it was so well versed and in the amount of characters that we needed. I didn't have to go through and thumb through it
yeah,
again. I didn't have to edit. It was ready to go. And I mean, we fired it. And for every bit of no's, you get a yes.
yeah,
We got such good engagement and feedback on that people were just like responding and responding. Like I almost didn't know what to do with myself for the moment because I was like really overwhelmed at like how cool that particular text message took off and
yeah.
the positive engagement we got out of it. And I think it was just the way it was worded. Because if somebody like you and myself were to probably, I'm not saying that we're, below
Oh,
level of like
yeah,
how to,
yeah,
create something like that.
yeah.
But I think if we would have worded it ourselves, we probably would have been a lot less engaged. But
Exactly.
the way it sounded, like the way I even read it, I wanted to go call my own damn shop
Yeah,
and get a service. I was like, damn, that's kind of cool.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I used to type out my text
mhm,
or my post or whatever, and then I'd put it in ChatGPT and ask it to clean it up, right?
sure.
Um, and so like today I was talking to my buddy who made my website, and he was kind of like, "Hey, it's starting to really like kind of pop off in the searches. Like, I'm like noticing, it's getting so much better." And he was like, "Are you seeing, any kind of return?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm getting some more calls than I was before." I said, "The only problem is like still kind of getting like those bottom feeder calls, when,
Hmm.
hey, I need my car detailed." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, our interior detail prices start at $350, $400. And it's like, oh yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So so he was kind of saying, or we were talking about that, and he goes, you know, what would be really good blog post to do is why interior detailers are so expensive and what goes into them and everything. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, like how do we write that? And he goes, well, we don't write it. He goes, go into Chat GPT and ask it to create a blog post on why interior detailing is so expensive. And he goes, and just give it some ideas, like why, like if you're trying to explain it to a customer, why is this such an expensive service? Why does it take longer than, the guy says he's going to come out and knock it out in 30 minutes and charge
Sure.
$100, whatever. So like I did that. I said, create a blog post on why an interior detail costs so much. And here's the reasons why, knowledge of um, interior materials, cloth, leather, plastics, carbon
Alcantara.
fibers, Alcantara, all this, which products are working with those and not going to damage them.
Mhm.
I said in odor removal, explain the differences between ozone and chlorine dioxide because I'm a
Mhm.
chlorine dioxide guy, and I said you
It's
can.
illegal to do ozone in California now, so now we're
Oh, is
purely
it? Oh,
we're
nice.
purely carbon dioxide now.
Nice. So, like and I used an example, like one of my clients took her Porsche to the dealership and they did a free interior detail. It was like 2 months ago. She had to keep taking it back because they put an ozone machine in it and it just has that stale ozone smell. So like I told it about that and then, like some other things. And dude, it typed out this like beautiful like blog, like kind of the same thing you were saying. Like I'm reading it and I'm like, holy shit, like
Yeah,
this makes me want to pay money for an interior detail now.
yeah,
So like I sent it over to my buddy and he's like, dude, I don't need to change a thing. He goes, I'm putting it right on the website. He goes, that
that's
was
awesome.
perfect. Yeah.
It does kind of take the guesswork out of it, but it also kind of like it cheats us too. Like I wouldn't say it takes out the genuinity of
Yeah.
the whole entire post because it's like these things are things that we have invested ourselves in, our time, our
Right.
education, learning, the years and years of trial and error that we put in that we could verbally use from our mouth. People and kids and anybody at this point can use that and sound extremely educated. So there is that factor now where people who don't understand what we do as professionals can utilize chat gpt into their business who don't have the experience and ultimately either screw something up or read into it really well and try to figure out a way around that to make themselves better, which is great. If you could find a way to make yourself better by reading through a chat gpt thing,
Yeah.
wonderful, that's great for you. But a lot of people probably right now, we're seeing it around here, you could totally tell when somebody's you know they're fresh, they're green in business, they're totally new, they're rocking chemical guys shit all over their van, but then they're writing these lengthy posts about what you should be doing and how to's and this and that. And it's like, dude, you're using bottom of the barrel stuff,
Yeah.
and not to say anything. Paul's a great guy and he's got a wonderful company and I mean
Right.
they make a killing in the retail side of things. But that's not, to me, in my mind, that's not professional detailed product. That's not professional
Right.
work. And
Right.
I mean, there's no experience like hands-on experience.
Yeah.
There's nothing like getting your hands dirty and learning. You know, Chat GPT is not going to cut and polish your car.
Yeah. No, it's not.
They're not going to be able
Not.
to figure out what patent product to use to get you where you need to be or to achieve the results. Like today, one of my guys, he's good at what he does, but he found himself in a pickle. He sent me a text message. I was out of the office. He said, hey, I can't get this haze out of the paint. I can't figure it out, and I had him cut the paint and, to get some aggressive marks up, but there were still wool marks. There was still something in the surface. And it created a haze naturally, as it's going to do.
Right.
So I got back to the office and I was like, okay, well, let's see what we got here. He had 3 or 4 different combinations out. He was just having a tough time. I grabbed a yellow pad. I grabbed some Coach Chemi micro cut, threw it on there, worked the paint through the cycle, slowed it down, ran a final pass, wiped it clean, clear as day. It's just nothing is substitute for hands-on
Oh
experience
yeah.
or
Absolutely.
just looking at a surface and understanding what it is that you're going to do. Guys like you and myself, like we could look at a paint system and know, like I could look at a paint and be like, okay, that's a Subaru. That paint's hard as hell. We're digging out the bottle of rocks. You know what I mean? That's what we're gonna. It's what we got to do at this point. Or you look at a Toyota or a Lexus paint. It's going to be soft, or a black GM.
Yeah.
You ultimately you identify, and where some people who are newer again don't understand that and are just going balls to the wall on it and really
Right.
essentially doing more damage than good, doing more
Yeah.
bad than good.
Yeah.
So
And I think the good point to it of it, I mean, technically it's a tool. It's a tool to help you. And like
sure,
you said, right? Like, you and I and majority of the detail industry, we we know how to do it. We know the right steps, the right tools, the right
sure,
whatever. We just not all of us might be able to explain it properly to a client,
exactly.
right? So again, that's what I liked about doing that is because I could say, write me the blog post and basically give it all the points I wanted it to hit on.
Without verbally being able to get it or type it with
Right,
your hand.
right. And it's going to do it, in a way that is going to explain all those points the way I explained it to ChatGPT,
Mhm.
but in a cleaner, more professional, maybe more educational way than I would.
Or in a way that somebody could read it and relate to it a little better than the way we can explain
Right,
it.
exactly.
There's
Yeah,
there's always ways, like, kind of like with like people who don't understand like math a certain way. If it's
yeah,
explained in a different format, then people get it. So the way we relate to a customer and say it a certain way, but they can go read it off a chat GPT post,
yeah.
they relate to it a little bit better. It's
Well,
easier explained by them or
yeah.
through that than from us.
And that's the thing that I've noticed with, detailers and myself included, I've been guilty of it at times is, when we try to explain things to detailers, we or to clients, we talk like detailers, surfactants and this and emulsifiers and
Yeah.
aluminum dioxide, what and the customer's like, "What the fuck are you
What?
talking about?" Like,
What?
like,
I just want my
yeah.
car clean,
Yeah,
dude.
you just gotta go like, "Look, man, it makes magic on the paint and your car is gonna look shiny when it's done,"
E
like,
exactly.
so
So,
so
again, I don't think what they're I think a customer's base expectancy isn't for us to over educate them on everything we use, and that's, kinda now where you don't really how do I explain this? It's not about, what you have, what you're putting on. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm putting a Lake Country pad on this machine and this
yeah,
and that because they don't fucking know.
yeah,
All they know is they're coming in here for a service and they're entrusting you, the brand, who you've branded yourself with, to give them good work, quality workmanship, and an excellent product at the end of the day.
yeah,
Stellar results, killer materials, and what you use. Like I explain to my customers, and I tell them, I don't spare expense on materials. I don't spare expense on tools. Just know that everything that we put on your paint or your interior is going to be the best of the best, hands down.
yeah,
I don't pick up things from your local part stores or Walmarts or Targets or anything like that. Everything we use is professional grade, and that's all I need to tell them if they're inquisitive about it. But for the
right,
most part, when a client does come into our facility, just by overall sight and they look and see, they know that they're in a professional outfit. The aesthetic is there, the curb
yeah,
appeal is there. It's not just the lighting or anything like that. It's just how we have everything laid out and formatted is in an extremely professional setting, and they know what they're going to get is a great product. So there's need to not explain a lot of that, but
right,
again, you also have people who are newer in business. You have mobile guys who don't have the brick and mortar or don't have that curb appeal where they need to explain a little further in order to sell that client or get that client to bite on what they're selling. Um, so there definitely is that factor. I kind of went down the rabbit hole of what we were talking about
no,
here.
no, it's
Sorry.
all good, man. I mean, that's the beauty
uh,
of this is it's just conversational,
yeah,
so like,
absolutely, man. And I think that the customers, expectancy, that's what we were talking about. Products and things
yeah,
like that, and processes and eliminations. Um, I think more simplifying the explanation of what you stand to what you are willing to offer the client is easier than trying to over explain that, because 9 times out of 10 they say that in the first 7 seconds a customer is going to know if they're going to do business with you. By the time your handshake ends, they already know whether they're going to work with you or
Right.
not. And that's key for me in my place of business. Customer service is everything. We'll send lift cars to and from. We'll give you a ride if we need to. Our front room is full of snacks, coffees, teas, drinks, waters, sodas, you name it. It's all about perception. It's all about the customer service. It's all about making them feel welcome.
Yeah.
Perceiving value, creating a relationship, and giving them what they're asking for. Um, for me personally, and this I don't speak for anybody else. I speak for myself. My customer comes before their car. I want to understand them a little bit and see what makes their gears turn. Ask them a little bit about themselves. Do you have kids? What's your life like? That way, before I even get into that, I already know what the inside of their car's like. Oh, I got
Yeah.
4 kids. Oh yeah. How old are your kids? Oh,
Yeah.
3 to 10. Oh, we know what that's going to look
Yeah.
like. You
Yeah.
kind of you gauge that before you get out there, and then you're not like, oh my god, look at the inside of your car. Like,
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
fucking torch. We're going to charge you an arm and a leg.
Right.
You kind of like subtly know how to move into that with them. But at that point, that customer already feels good enough inside that you're going to do a good job for them because you already taken an interest in them. So that means if you've taken an interest in them, you're going to take an interest in their vehicle. You know, so that's my logic on it.
Yeah.
Also, being open and offering and, welcoming, that's the idea, is not to come into a dirty, greasy garage. It's
Right.
coming into a nice space where you feel comfortable. You can have a seat, watch what we have going on our screens, enjoy a cup of coffee while you wait for a lift car or what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what my model of my business is based
Well,
around, and not
and yeah, and that's I
overselling
mean,
something.
that's a great way to do it because the way that I've always thought is, the best customers are the ones that you build relationships with.
Mhm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I learned that a long time ago in the car wash because, I worked in the car wash for so many years that, you know, like when I first started working, people were like my age,
Mhm.
and then, by the time I left, they're grown, married, got kids, their kids are going away to college. Like, like you build this relationship with these people.
Yeah.
So, utilizing that when I started my business, I tried to treat people the same way. Like you said, ask them what they do, how their family is when you see them and that's where I've got this core group of clients that,
Mhm.
are my bread and butter, so to speak, because
Yeah.
they they always need something done. They're always buying new cars to get coated. They're always wanting them to be maintained, whatever. So, like, I know, like, even in slow times, I'm gonna have these set
There's
people.
your fallback. You can give them a call too.
Right,
They'll say, "Hey, what
that
do you
are
got? What's going on?"
right, exactly. So, that's the beauty of it is don't just treat them as a one and done or a
Mhm.
client or whatever,
Or a dollar bill or a credit card swipe.
right, right.
Make them
Build that
feel comfortable. Make them
relationship
feel at
with
home.
them. Yeah.
Well, I have a client who's got a diesel truck she just bought and she wants to get it coated.
Mhm.
She was my client 15 years ago. She was one of my first clients.
Oh, wow.
Talking with her probably 2, 3 days ago, I was like, I've known her for that long. I've known her since junior high. She supported my business the second I opened my doors, and she's always been a good friend. I was talking with her the other day. I was like, hey, how's the family? How's everybody doing? She's like, oh, well, my second's about to graduate college, and they're buying a house in Arizona. I'm like, holy shit. She's like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm thinking about moving down there next year. Now, mind you, I've known these kids since before my
Yeah.
business was open, but to learn that, after all these years of her still being my client through everything, that her kids are now, one of them's the youngest is graduating college, the oldest is out of college, and they're buying a home together in Arizona, and she's getting
Yeah.
ready to jam. She's like, I have nothing else here, Sean. What am I going to do? I'm like, shit, do you go be with your kids?
Yeah.
Go start anew, open a fresh chapter of life. So for me, it'll be sad to see her go because she's been so consistent through the years.
Right.
But at the same time, that's like, that's graduating in life.
Yeah.
You've hit a new plateau, you've hit a new marker in life. Like, you're to the point now where it's like you don't really have anything keeping you here. You can go explore and live and do what you want and be what you want to be, or find something anew, or find a new love out there, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Um, as for me, I can't really go anywhere. I'm grounded here.
Yeah,
I'm stuck. You know, I mean,
you're in
like,
business. Yeah. This podcast is sponsored by Detailed Image. What sets Detailed Image apart? Their outstanding customer service and fast shipping on 3,000 detailing products from almost 100 brands, plus their extensive product descriptions, detailing blog, and how-to guides make it easy to choose the right products for any job. And here's the best part. Listeners of the Detail Solutions podcast get an exclusive 15% off with the promo code DSP15. That's DSP15 for 15% off your order. Another option for the pros listening is their incredible wholesale program that saves you on average of 15 to 30% off. In 2024, wholesalers saved on average of $699. There are no fees, no commitments, and no subscriptions, just huge savings. Join today at detailedimage.com/wholesale/DSP, and you'll get a bonus $20 credit when you make your first purchase. Again, for the wholesalers, that's detailedimage.com/wholesale/DSP and get an extra $20 credit.
kids are, you know, my kids are, one of them's headed to San Diego State. We were just down there a couple weeks
Oh,
ago when I
nice.
did a super detailed grand opening. She's going to San Diego State University. So we
Okay.
did the orientation and that stuff. You know, I've got two more that are in high school. I have two stepdaughters and my two boys. My oldest is 23. Um, my second oldest is going, again, she's going to San Diego State. And then I have two that are junior or a sophomore and a freshman in high school.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're well on the way of kind of
Yeah.
moving them out, you know, and
Yeah.
get graduating them in life as well, and then, you know, kind of figure out what I want to do after that. You know, I've contemplated, you know, letting the kids have the business, run the business, finding somebody who can manage and run the business, and trying
Yeah.
to, you know, stick around the industry full time, or do I want to kind of
Sail off into the sunset.
figure out what I want to do? Yeah, man,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm good enough. I feel like if I needed to, I could hang it up and be fine and
Yeah.
do well for the rest of my life if I really needed to. I mean, I've invested into other areas of my life that are, you know, eh, passive income all day long.
Right.
Regardless of what I do, I make money even when I sleep, so that's kind of nice.
Right.
But
No, that's good.
I enjoy this. I love this. I love being able to hang out and talk to my friends and see people that have molded me.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't think you knew me 10 or 15 years ago. Fuck that.
No, I didn't.
Rough,
No, yeah.
rough,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
It
I
was
think
bad, bro.
I think you and I met the first time at Air Force One.
I
I
think
think
we did. I
yeah,
think it was our first personal interaction. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that was what, 2 years ago.
yeah, yeah,
Holy moly! It's,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, like I knew of you. I think we were Facebook friends and
sure.
like whatever commented, messaged or things like that, but I didn't like know you. And
Yeah,
Air Force One was the first time like we
yeah,
met in person,
yeah,
and that was a brief because I mean we were only there
yeah.
for like
Everybody was
a day.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
You guys had people on the podcast. I was walking around doing things with
yeah,
SP3 and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean that's a special project, man. That place, that alone right there, um, that helped mold my business. That helped shape everything about me. Like I said, prior to that, I was rough, dude. Like I didn't give two fucks.
yeah.
I I'd call people out. I'd call people out to fight. I just didn't care. You know, I was just that guy. I was hot, bro, all the
Like
time. And
like Joey Love at SEMA,
yeah,
always calling people out at SEMA.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
love
did that
that.
with Joey in person at a
Did
booth.
you?
Yeah, I called this. I don't remember the guy. He was talking loud on the internet, and Joey brought him over to the booth, and I pulled him around the booth. I'm like, "How you want to run this, dude?" Like, because I don't do the internet stuff, you know.
Yeah,
But you know, again, it's all a part of growth, man. Like it took me a long time to really realize that that's not the attitude that's going to win. That's not the
yeah,
attitude that's going to carry me places. It's not going to take me where I need to be. So I've learned to tailor myself back and become a whole lot more professional because nobody wants a representation of that in their business.
right.
My business alone, like I stand alone as customer service, but what do I look like as somebody who works in the industry and I'm trying to do that? That doesn't play a professional part.
Yeah,
And I don't
exactly.
ever want to be that way with people. Now, do I get hot under the collar? Sure. Am I going to have a debate with you? Sure. But am I going to come after you like I used to come after people? Absolutely not. Because there's growth. And I have Rennie Doyle to thank for that. And I have
Nice.
a couple other people to thank for that because after I went through training, he stuck the boots to me, man. He made sure that he held me accountable, and he made sure I held myself accountable. I do remember this one time him and I went out to dinner with Diane and my other half, and dude, dose of reality. Like it was like my father disappointed at me,
Yeah.
and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it hurt my feelings. So I was like, damn, I'm disappointing somebody who has made it part of his own personal mission to mold me into something better.
Yeah.
And it took that for me to be like, okay, I need to stop what I'm doing, you know, and I just a part of who I am now is just being strictly professional, whether it be on the internet, be it in person,
Right.
and it's calmed me down a lot. It's definitely made me a much better person because I've had to look at it from the outside looking in as a person. It's like, do I want to be treated that way by people?
Right.
No. So why am I doing that to other people? It's not fair to anybody.
Yeah.
And I've seen growth out of that with my business and personally.
Right. And again, like you said, it's just not a good look, and everybody in this industry, whether they want to admit it or not, always kind of has an agenda of the next step,
Mhm.
getting on with a brand, representing a brand,
Sure.
working for a brand,
And
whatever.
I mean, the thing is too, you have to remember that the threshold of entry in this industry is so
So low.
fucking low. And that's because you can be anybody and come in and wash and clean a car.
Yeah.
Now, the special people are the ones who really understand what the business is, what the business takes, and then going from there and leveling up. For me, when I first started my business, bro, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. This was a means to an end for me at some point, and I've grown it into something amazing. And I'm
Right.
very thankful for that. I'm very grateful for that every single day that I get to wake up and come to a building that's mine and relate with people who I've been friends with forever or generate new customers in business and stuff like that. But I remember at one point, like I said, the threshold of entry in this industry is so low that you can come in hot under the collar and be like that and still do something for yourself. But it really takes somebody special like yourself who went into the detail side, into the podcasting, being a brand representative with Aquatech. By the way, Mike Cardenius is amazing. He helped me with when I was at Sonex. And
Okay.
like I think it was like 2016 or 2017, I went to
Nice.
work the booth, and dude, he just stood over the top of me and helped me. It was my first trade show. I was scared as shit. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to talk to people, but I had done something enough to a magnitude where they recognized me. Like, hey,
Right.
you want to work this booth? And that was like one of my very first opportunities that I was like, wow, this is more than a business. This is
Yeah.
I'm being recognized for my accolades, and that's where it all really kind of started snowballing. It all started going there, and then just more and more recognition, and then I was able to get on with another company, and then through the years I've worked for a few different companies, and
Yeah.
I'm proud to be where I'm at today. I will say that, and I'm proud to see where you're at so far with your journey with
Thanks,
Aquatech. And I know
man.
that you guys got Jerry on there now.
Yeah.
Jerry's a solid dude. I love that guy to death. He's
Yep.
funny as shit.
Yeah.
Cracks me up, dude.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
things that he says and does, and he cracks me up. But
Yeah.
at the end of this, it's all about evolution, man. And evolving into what you want to be in the industry and being as a person, and what you want to see as yourself in a business. And for me personally, it's taken a lot of trial and error. It's taken a lot of disciplinary action on my part,
Yeah.
personally disciplining myself, but also having others discipline me. Like within our group, I've been kicked out of the mafia a few times. Been brought back. I've been suspended because I didn't know how to stop this, and I
Yeah.
was just being combative, and
Yeah.
again learning that that's not the way is that shaped everything going forward. I haven't had anybody call me like, Sean, what are you doing? Like, stop acting up. Like, you're doing
Right.
too much on Facebook, or you're doing this, or you need to calm down. Like, and it's nice to not have that. It's nice to see smiling faces. It's nice to be able to be greeted in a nice manner when I show up to trade shows. And it's nice because I don't have that rough appeal about. I mean, I look pissed off all the time. I look
Yeah.
like a suspect in anything that I do just based on my overall
Yeah.
appearance. But to know me is to know, like, I've got a good heart. I treat people
Yes.
well. I'm a no bullshit kind of guy, and I've always been that way, and I've never really been a guy who deals with the internet tough shit. Like if I say it, that's it. I'm not going to tap the keyboard. I'm going to tap on your front door kind of guy, you know.
Right, right.
But the growth behind all of that has been astronomical for me, and I really feel like a lot of people in this industry have helped make me a better person. And again, the lower threshold of entry is great, but listening to people who will help you and genuinely care to see you succeed is everything. You're one of them.
Yeah.
I've watched your podcast. I've listened to you. I follow your Facebook. I love
Well, thank
watching
you.
what people do. You know, and you're an amazing asset to this industry, dude. And
Well,
to
thank you.
watch the growth of your podcast, the growth of Aquatech, and everything just based around yourself, dude. Your presence at MTE was huge. I sat back, I watched, bro. I was like, this is fucking awesome, dude.
Which is
It,
crazy because like this was the first MTE that I was a little bummed about
and why would you say that?
because well, and so here's the thing, not for a bad reason, not for any bad reasons. Um, it was the first year helping Sheldon create the paint correction competition, and I was just so busy in that booth that I didn't get the time to spend with people really.
You didn't need to because everybody came to you.
Some of them did, but some of them didn't, and I just missed that, right? Because again,
Sure,
like some of the people that I'm used to having interaction with were stuck in their booths, and
I see that.
so I missed a lot of people. And with MTE, I talk about it all the time. MTE definitely has a special place in my heart because it's in my backyard,
Yeah,
right? Like
sure.
it's here in Orlando. So I love going to MTE. I love it, the atmosphere. I love seeing everybody, the hugs, the handshakes, the time catching up.
Camaraderie, man.
Right, right. And so like, because I was so, preoccupied helping the paint correction competition go about, like I didn't get some of that. So I'm glad that for next year, Sheldon's talking about being able to have more people in there so that w- we won't have to be so laser focused on it, which will be nice because I do want to have that interaction with it still, but at the same time, I also want
To be
to
able to
like
enjoy it.
right it to not be in
Well,
it
that's
about
also
it.
the advantage of your paint correction competition. So you know, naturally you were going to be housed there. It's
Yeah,
just one of those things when you're starting something. But as the years go on and stuff like that, the ease of that, or the ease of burden gets lifted off
yeah,
a little bit because more people want to be involved and help themselves with that. Like I totally understand where you're coming from. I didn't think about that aspect till you started talking about it.
yeah.
I personally don't get to see the majority of the trade shows, be it MTE, SEMA, or anything like that,
Yeah, because you're
is
always stuck
because
in a booth. Yeah,
I'm in a booth. I'm in a
yeah.
booth. Uh, Last year, I was at SP3 in Lake Country the whole
Hmm.
time. Before that, it was Buff and Shine all day long. I
Yeah.
was there. Um, Luckily now, I'm still with Lake Country, but I work for CCI, and I think CCI is going to have a booth coming up this year at Mobile Tech. So I will
Nice.
kind of be housed there, but I do get that bit of freedom, like
Yeah,
I've said it to, both places like, hey man, I want to be able to explore just a little bit. I want to be able
yeah,
to go walk through and say hi to the people like you who are stuck at the booth who
yeah.
you didn't get to interact with. I want to be able to walk around and just freely say hi to friends who are walking past me when I'm working and they're off to another booth to see something that may be new and exciting to them.
Right. Exactly.
So I do understand what you're saying when you say you miss that
Yeah,
bit of
and
camaraderie.
right, and I mean, honestly, like it was more of a volunteer thing. I mean, Sheldon didn't like require me to be there, or
But this
anything.
is your
But
baby, man.
I mean, kind of. I mean, it was a weird thing because when it was originally brought up by somebody else, and then they couldn't run it. Sheldon had asked me. He said, can you help me? And I said, Sheldon, like I don't know. I don't know how to do this, Like
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm doing. I said, but I'll tell you what, I will put together a committee of people in this industry that can help you. And I said, I'll facilitate it. I'll put everything together. I could be a part of it, not be a part of it, whatever." And he said, "Well, no, I want you to be a part of it because he's so busy doing all the other trade shows that Convex does." He's like, "I'm going to need somebody to, kind of whatever." So, and I think this first year he wasn't really sure. I mean, like we had a good plan of action, but it wasn't tested. So he didn't really, I think, put as much, I don't want to say effort because he did, but he didn't put as much, I think, backing into it.
Sure.
Like I don't think the budget for the paint correction competition was anywhere near what the PDR, the Dent Olympics are, because
Sure.
that's been going on for so long. Like that's
Well,
proven.
kind of mastered a bit of that for so many years of doing it. As you know,
Right,
it, the paint correction competition it's an infant. It's still in its baby
right,
stages.
right.
It hasn't even hit toddler stage yet. This
No,
is
no,
a
it
baby
hasn't.
voyage.
It
So
hasn't. I
I
don't
mean,
even think it can walk on its own yet right now.
kind of like as we grow and evolve as people and detailers and business owners and entrepreneurs, that paint correction competition is also going to evolve the same
Oh yeah,
exact way. It's
absolutely.
just there's just trial and error, and it's just the rough edges that need to be smoothed and figuring out
Exactly.
what
And
makes it
that's
smoother. So,
and that's kind
you
of the
know,
things. I mean, we've talked about, what it could be, I mean, the main thing is for 26 is to just be a little bit more refined than what it was this year. And then once we get 26 done and it's refined and it's a little bit better, then starting in 27 we can go crazy with it,
sure,
right?
yeah,
Like we had one of the suggestions that I loved was, instead of doing the polished pans scuffed and then you have to bring them back, was let's do weathered pans. Let's throw pans outside for a year,
not
get
a bad
bird
idea.
etchings, get watermarks, and then let's make it a real paint correction where you could
Well, it's
sand it.
real life circumstances of things
Right,
that would normally
right,
be what you would work on every day.
right.
Not
So
a bad idea, dude.
I liked that idea. The other idea that I liked was we could do, and I keep calling it a blind taste test, but basically it would be you just show up and you don't know what chemicals you're getting. You don't know what pad you're going to use, everything's going to be unmarked bottles. Hey,
Kind
here's
of
a
kind of like a
compound.
kind of like a skills validation
Right.
certification.
Here's a compound, here's a polish. Like, maybe we talk to one of the pad manufacturers who could make us pads that don't look like any other pad. So somebody couldn't say, like, oh, this is a Lake Country pad. Oh, this is an Oberk pad. This is a Buff and Shine pad. This is a
Sure.
Rupes pad. Like we get a pad that doesn't look like anything, you
Yeah.
know, get a black pad that's rock hard that, typically you think a black pad is super soft,
That's
like,
smart. That's actually pretty
yeah,
smart.
so I mean, there's a lot that can be done. I think going into 26, I think, Sheldon saw how this year went and how good it went, that he's putting a little bit more in the budget for 26. So I don't really think I'll need to be in there as much. I think he's going to have people doing it, which is great, because then that allows me to be at the Aquatech booth. I can do a little bit more bouncing back and forth between Aquatech
Sure.
and paint correction, because that's what I was going to do this year, and I spent almost all the time in the paint correction booth. Unless Mike had to go use the restroom or Jason had to go do something, I ran back over there and helped that you cover them for a few minutes. But no, I mean it was great. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, there's just the fact that I didn't get to walk as much and see everybody. Was kind of a bummer, because that's what I like. But now I
And the
did
part of
hang
that
out with
too
people
is like,
afterwards, so that was fine.
yeah, so like afterwards and everybody's like dinners and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Everybody's kind of like in different places running crazy. So it's not like you're all in one space like we normally are, walking around
right.
being able to see each other. It's like everybody has a different plan. Like, it might be a senior frogs, or you might be at the steakhouse with your team having a dinner,
Yeah,
or XYZ or whatever. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that. And trying to make the time for everybody in a
it's
2 to 3 day show is
I
like
know.
it's like almost impossible to be able to like sit there and get FaceTime with each individual, because if you actually did that, you wouldn't even really get the show. because you're
No.
actually trying to take that
Yeah.
time with each individual person that you know. I don't even like to refer to us as an industry too much anymore. I like us as a giant community.
Yeah.
Like of course we're an industry, but it just seems like a very, it's like a tight knit group,
It
of
is.
everybody,
It
and
is.
it's more of a family kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you get families who fight. You have people in the industry who
Absolutely.
don't like each other and they go at each other, and the next thing you know,
Absolutely.
that's just kind of how it is. But that's like it's like a big giant family, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's always about support and being able to have that good face time with people and stuff like that. And that's, falling back into our earlier conversation, that's kind of what I looked at. It's like, why am I at ends with everybody? Why,
Yeah.
why am I trying to battle with everybody? It's like, ain't going to get me nowhere. It's just going to, it's going to blacklist me. And I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to support, show love, help, educate, teach, train, and show, the younger people who are coming into this, that this is a great place to be. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and you can make some really serious money doing it,
Well,
you
and
know?
not only that, but honestly, like that's why I've distanced myself from some people is the people that have that attitude or that negativity. They just bring everybody around them down, and nobody wants to be around that. So,
Yeah.
it's, the way that I look at it is there's so many people in this industry that it's all love. Like
Yeah.
they don't care. Like I mean, you could be, a ceramic brand, they're a ceramic brand, but they don't care. I mean, that's the one thing I love about Tommy,
He loves
is
everybody, dude.
Tommy's just down for the homies,
Yeah.
like, all love, no hate. I mean, hell, we even did
You guys
the
did your coexisting training with
yeah,
Noxie.
well, no, no, we didn't do a coexisting training with Noxie. They did one with Noxie that I went to.
Hey, you're
Um,
you're you're breaking up. Is it your mic or is it me?
it might be you, I think. Is it?
Let me try quick. Sorry.
Okay. No, no, you're good.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it was
It
my headphones. I'm
yeah,
sorry about that.
yeah. No, so Angel Wax did a training that I went to because Noxie wanted me to come for the podcast and like
Sure.
podcast it and everything. Then we did an Aquatech one. But what we did with them was at SEMA, we did the AA meeting. So
Oh,
we had
that's what it was. Okay.
yeah, so we had our Aquatech Angel Wax Aquatech, however you wanted to do it. That's why we called it the AA meeting because it didn't matter. We didn't have to put anybody's name
In
above
front.
the other person. Yeah. And that was great. We had a great turnout with that. And I mean, Tommy, Rick, and John, they always are like, dude, let's do something together. Like, let's blow the detail industry minds of two ceramic coating companies. I mean, technically they're compounds and polishes and everything else, but they're like, two ceramic coating companies coming together and doing something. So we have talked about the possibility of doing a joint training. So you come to the training and not only do you get certified in Aquatech, you also get certified in Angel Wax.
Dual
You
certification.
could leave one training certified in two coating brands.
And I mean, that kind of breaks up the stigma of what everybody thinks. Like you have to choose up and be on a side. I mean, back in the day, it was Jitechnic or Ceramic Pro.
Yeah.
Those were your choices
Or Seaquartz. Seaquartz was in there too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like they weren't really making as much noise as these two companies
Yeah.
at that time. And when coatings first started coming out, that's kind of what it was. You really, it was one or the other if you were kind of, or one of the three if you were really installing. Um, so that kind of breaks up that stigma of like you having to choose up and be a part of something. Like the one thing that I loved about SP3 and that I love about CCI working for them now is they're not they're not trying to take from another company. They're not
Yeah.
trying to take that person's installers. It's a love thing, and similar to you guys, they don't want to sit there and bash on another company. And as a business owner and an entrepreneur, if you're going out talking about your competition, you're not a business person. You're
Yeah.
making yourself look horrible because bad mouthing another business to a client or whatever, you don't look professional.
No,
Yeah,
you don't.
I've I've learned that, man. I've not gone out of my way and said anything about anybody in my local market, and I never will because I'm my biggest competition every day. I don't care what the guy down the street's doing. I can give two fucks.
Right.
If you're getting money and you're getting cars and I'm a little slow, great. Good for you, man. Get it up. Do what you got to do. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's everybody, there's cars for everybody to do, you know?
Exactly. And that was one of the things I told Jason and Mike, when they approached me about joining Aquatech was I told them, I said, look, man, I'm too, friends with too many people in this industry that I don't want to piss people off. So don't think that you guys are gonna get me and then I'm just gonna go start selling Aquatech to all my friends.
Yeah.
The way that kinda happened was organically.
Yeah.
Those people reached out to me, "Hey, man, I'm just not feeling this brand I'm using anymore. I've had some issues or da 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 da. What's going on with Aquatech?" And I could say, "Well, I mean, it works for me. Like, if you wanna try it, I'll set you up. Like, it's, no harm, no foul. You can buy 1 bottle, try it out. If you like it, great. If you don't, no problem. You're not gonna hurt my feelings."
Absolutely.
And
That's
that's the way that I approached it.
that's a super cool approach towards it too, because you're not over here trying to, essentially shit on somebody to make
Yeah.
a sale, or put a dollar commission in your pocket type of thing, like you said, it happens organically. And that's the best part about it. It's like, when I worked with SB3 and working for CCI, I take that same approach. I'm no pressure. If you want, great.
Yeah.
You- that's fine too, man. Like, I get it. That's like, I tell people this shit all the time. It's like, I don't care what side of politics you choose. If I was your friend before you had your voiced opinion, you're still my friend.
Yeah.
Do we agree on things? No, but that doesn't affect our friendship. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
it
won't
shouldn't.
let
Yeah.
anything that I do in the industry affect how I work with other people. Like Barry, an amazing guy. I felt so bad when I, sent in my resignation. But at the end of the day, I told in my resignation, I said, I don't care what it comes down to. I'm still going to support SB3. And I made note of that to Brian and Michael and the team at CCI. Like, I want you guys to know coming onto this team that I'm still going to support SB3 and help grow everybody in the industry. And they were like, that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want somebody who's going to hate on the next company. And that right there solidified my decision to stay with CCI and do what I'm doing, is because they were okay with me supporting. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still going to support Tommy. I'm still
Yeah.
going to support you guys, because everybody needs that.
Oh,
It's part of
absolutely.
the operation of an industry. Like, if we're going to single each other out, our community is just going to be vexed. It's going to be, we're going to be
Yeah.
split in half, and we're going to be choosing sides. And the next thing you know, people are just going to start hating on each other. And it's just going to be a bunch of shit that we don't need,
Right.
you know? And I think it's a beautiful thing these days, is like, as much as we see the drama, you also see the love that comes together. You see the people who band together. You've seen, people who are going through things, a family member, gets hurt or something happens,
Yeah.
and our community comes together and helps each other, and that's a gorgeous thing, man. That's so nice to see. It's like, I'd rather see that than people go at it with each other, because I was that guy who went at it with people, and I had to learn hard lessons on my own and lose friendships with people, who I was at ends with, and I still don't talk to today, and that kind of hurts my feelings, because it was my fault. I
Yeah.
was drinking poison expecting them to die, and that's not the way it needs to be, man.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, man. Eventually you get to a point to where, you're spewing so much hate and negativity that, people just like
They're gonna,
start yeah, you're like, "Why how come nobody's talking to me anymore? How come nobody's, got my back anymore?" Whatever. I mean, that was my biggest problem with, my past co-host
Mhm.
was I kept trying to tell him like, "Look, dude, like, you can't be this way, And I think part of a lot of that is, with this industry is it is mostly male dominated,
Mhm.
and it's huge egos because everybody thinks that they're better than the next guy.
And again, like
Like,
I said, the threshold of entry in our industry is so low that, like, anybody can come in and try and swing their dick on
right,
the table and trying to be the best and the best. It's like, that's great that we're all A-type personalities, but we should never be so big where we can't hear, listen, and learn.
right.
I'm in this industry as a business 15 years, and I will take notes from somebody who's a second year,
Yeah,
because they're going to teach me something that I don't know, and I hope
exactly.
by the end of that I could teach them the things that I know,
Yeah.
because it's
Well,
all a growth pattern.
and not only that, but if you really sit back and it's kind of what I've tried to do this past year after everything that happened last year is kind of sitting back and taking more quiet approach.
Mhm.
Like, I noticed the people that are the badasses in this industry are the quiet ones.
You know what you call them? Silent giants.
Exactly.
And I won't say that I'm a silent giant by no means, but I am extremely quiet online. I don't post a ton of the cars we do. I mean, actually, what people see, it's awesome, but there's so much more to my business and so many layers to my business that people don't see or know,
Yeah.
or the numbers that we do on a monthly or quarterly or annually. Like, I do really well for myself, you
Yeah.
know, and I
I mean,
don't.
you're driving a Bentley, bro. You must be doing all right.
I try, man. I try, and and like I said, outside of the detailing part of it, I have like I said, I have my hands in other things.
Yeah.
I own a barber shop. I own an SMP studio. I do have my hands in some real estate. Like I said, that's my passive income is the rental properties that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and right now we're in the middle of launching a multimedia and consulting business.
Oh, nice.
I've got a team of people who are working with us as far as like editors, people who fly drones, photographers, videographers, and stuff like that. I'm trying to create like an art space for people,
Okay.
but also help myself, help my business, and help grow the other things and the other avenues of revenue that I have, like the real estate side of it. I'm not in the real estate game, but I do like to buy properties that I can and either not flip them, but like fix them up and turn them into rentals and things
Right.
like that. But also in the same token of that, I can utilize that multimedia business that I have and utilize that for rental space. I can have somebody film the inside of it and do that for turning it into rentals. And then, on side of that, having real estate agents see those same things and want to utilize that service for their sales, so
Yeah.
kind of like
'Cause
hitting.
that's becoming kind of a big thing with real estate now is, the virtual tour kind of deal,
Exactly right. So there's a lot of people who are shooting like open frame and drone shots over the house to get aerial views. Like back in the day, in the '90s and early, you didn't have no drones. You had to fly a helicopter to get an aerial vision of your home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is something
I remember when I first started working the car wash that was the first one that I managed, that I was like top dog. Um, and I remember we had a guy um come and he was like, hey, I could shoot aerial footage or whatever. And the owner was like, oh, why do we need aerial footage of a car, like the roof of the car wash or whatever, right? And so like he did it, and the guy's like flying a Cessna plane over, the car wash, taking a picture down, and so like we had a picture of the aerial view of the car wash. But yeah, dude, I mean, this was like 2000, maybe 2001 or whatever, and he was doing it with a plane at that time. So yeah, it's
and the
definitely
reality of
different.
that is like it costed so much more at that point to
Oh,
get
absolutely.
to off a
Yeah,
camera. Now everything is digital, and you're on a dudes have goggles on, and they see exactly where
I
they're.
know.
And it
Yeah,
make that shit so cool. Like you could spin the damn thing around, going down and up, and
yeah,
just the possibilities behind like doing certain things like that are endless.
yeah,
And it creates so much more depth into what you're trying to produce, and it actually helps the sale of what you're trying to get with somebody.
yeah.
Like my guy, he's in our front office right now. He does all of our video stuff. I mean, he's so talented, and he started just by his brother giving him a camera and saying, "Shoot this music video for me."
That's cool.
And the kid fell in love after his first shot. And he's been doing it for the last 8 years. He's been with me for about a year now, full time. Um, and so much so I've seen the talent in him that I decided to invest.
Yeah,
Dude, let me put some money behind this with you. Let's get some. You already got good shit. Let's get some really good shit. Let's get green screens, get backdrops, let's get real lighting, let's get everything that's going to be needed and necessary. And I'm in the middle of getting ready to procure a new lease in downtown Santa Rosa with a I wouldn't say massive, but about a 1,500 square foot office space for these guys to go in there and have their creative space to do what they need to do. Without
mhm,
feeling like they need to be here, my guy can come shoot here, go to the office downtown,
Right.
and get his edits done in peace and quiet so he's not hearing, tornadors and machines and things like that. Or I can
Exactly. Yeah.
come in and take some photos, go to the other office and edit everything down, and then just drop it over to me, and then I go from there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely it's one hand washes the other essentially.
Yeah.
And in 2025, man, a lot of the stuff now is all about it's showboating. A lot of it's showing off what you got and showing what you can do, and making it look cool and shit like that. So trying to ride that wave, being a dude who started off by writing my tags for my clients.
Yeah.
It becomes like, I never thought I'd hear myself say I'm the old guy, but I'm the old guy. What's up, Serge? We're just
Right.
talking about you. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, what's
Yeah,
up?
and it's kind of going back to what we were talking about in the beginning. I mean, that's I'm an old guy, and like I mean, I try to somewhat stay up on the technology, but at the same time, like I always tell people, like I'm a scroller, not a poster.
Mhm.
I enjoy watching. I occasionally come up with funny ideas and creatives and things like that, and I try to figure out how I can do it. But sometimes it's like, again, when I'm working on a vehicle,
It can
stopping
be a
to
little bit intimidating at times.
sometimes it can, yeah. And again, it's like, okay, well, that didn't come out as, like it didn't come out like I visioned in my
Yeah.
head, so like, well, I won't put it out. But that's where I'm just trying to like right now, like even with just walkarounds, like if for my business, if I just post a walk around, like, hey, this was a car that we ceramic coated, like just start building some kind of um, following or whatever there, by doing shorts or reels or whatever, and then maybe get to a point to where I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I've got this, hammered out car. So let me do a 50-50 and let me, do a quick little video or something like that. But yeah, dude, I'm definitely gonna look into those glasses now because that would be so much better because then I don't have to stop to set the camera up and then I don't have to worry about did I get my good side, like
On my side is I'm round.
yeah, so am I, and that's like, dude, I went first pool dip of the summer this evening, so like my hair is like all just pulled out right now because when I got out of the pool, I just dried it. I was like, whatever, I'm going on the
I tell this guy
podcast.
like, hey man, don't shoot back here, okay? Because
Yeah, yeah,
whole ass bald spot going on, bro.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Michelle,
man. I
Michelle
think
keeps yelling at me because it's like it's all over the place because I'm trying to just like get an old man grow out, and she's like, "Can you just shave it back again?" And I'm like, "Just relax, babe. It'll get a little bit longer. It'll weigh itself down. It'll look okay. Like,
it's a
chill."
process. It's a
Yeah,
process.
yeah, yeah. Get
You guys
the old
figure
man
it
slick back. Yeah,
out. It's a good
yeah,
thing. That's awesome, man. Yeah,
yeah,
invest in those glasses, dude. I think that's a really good idea. And like I said, you can shoot video off them. You can go live. You can do all different types of stuff.
yeah.
Get that POV kind of thing as
Yeah, I've seen more and more people using them now. I mean, Rashid was one of the first people like last year that I saw using them.
Mhm.
And then I've seen Esme using them a lot more now in her videos.
She's a
And
badass.
yeah,
She's yeah.
um, yeah, she's awesome, dude. Like, I don't know if you've been following along with my little cartoon that I've created based on the detailing industry, but
You know with Tommy.
yeah, yeah, that was a great one. But I kind of created one loosely based on her. Like I said I need a social media like female detailer or whatever. And it was funny because like it made a cartoon version that kind of looked like Esme. Like didn't have the tattoos or anything like that, but kind of looked like Esme. And dude, I sent it to her on Instagram and she fucking loved it, dude. She's like, "Oh my god." She goes, "All it needs is the tattoos and it'll be perfect." And then like I even sent her like the name and the background history and she's like, "Oh my god." She's like, "That's so cool." Like so yeah, she's pretty cool.
That's
She's always been pretty good anytime I've asked her, come on the pod or just chit chatting with her or whatnot. But but yeah, it's been fun. But yeah, she's killing it, man. I
I like
love that. But again, dude, like she puts the work into the social media, you know? I mean, like when I had her on and she's like, telling me how she does it, and like that's one of the things I did learn from her was because I was like, how do you like when you take these pictures, like is somebody taking it for you? Like, how do you take the picture when you're working, like to get the action shot? And she's like, no, she goes, I just record a video for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or whatever as I'm working. She goes, and then I just scroll the video and find like the perfect frame.
takes like a still shot.
And she takes a screenshot of it. And then that's how she does her pictures. So, like, I started doing that with some of my things. I would just set the camera up, hit the record button, and I'd polish the hood out or whatever, or a panel, whatever I was doing, and then I would just pause it and then like move it frame by frame to find like the perfect kind of shot, and then I would screenshot it, and then that's what I would use.
It's not a
Um,
bad idea. I think I might give that a try. I have one of my
yeah,
guys do that because when my guy Sergio he does the videos, he'll sometimes set up time lapses.
uh
He'll
huh,
set his camera to a time lapse, and the guys will just go boom, 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 boom. And
yeah.
I'm certain in that time lapse you can find something that's really
Oh,
cool.
sure,
Photoshop
yeah,
that and
yeah. You just find that one perfect frame where the polisher's the right way, or you're looking the right way. Like,
sometimes
I was
grossly overthink these things. Like when I'm
I do
working with
too.
them on videos and stuff, I'm like, dude, gotta make sure this is here, this is here,
Yeah.
this is this. So it's not a bad idea to kind of just free ball it, man. Just let
Yeah,
it roll and then find your action shot or find your
yeah. I
in those
used to I used to tell the kid that filmed me, I was like, "Look, dude, if this cord ever falls off my shoulder, you tell me to cut and let's restart," because I was like, "I am not I'm
you don't want to get
not gonna
slayed by the detail
yeah,
industry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Cord's not on
yeah,
your shoulder, bro."
yeah. And that's the first thing they'll do. They'll find a way to rip your ass apart.
Oh, absolutely.
You jump on any of
Absolutely.
these forums, you post a picture. That's kind of partially the reason I don't post anymore is because I don't want to sit here and get slayed by these people.
Same,
Because that's going to
same,
bring out the mean in me, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I'll
same.
go at you, and I don't
Dude,
want to do
I'll shoot a video and I think it's awesome, and I go back and I watch it and I'm like, "Nah, like, that's off. They could rip me for
that.
that. They're gonna shit talk me for that." I was like, "Fuck it. I'm just not gonna post it then."
That's the worst part about social media, and that is the worst of it all. Is
Yeah,
the perception of everything has to be perfect when it doesn't need to be, because
yeah.
life isn't perfect. Everything
Well,
you're
and
not
it
going to get 100% out of a car. I mean, that's concourse, and even concourse
right,
is 100% type shit.
right.
So
Yeah, but I think it depends on the audience that you're shooting for, right? So, like, if you're shooting for your client might not notice that the cord's not on your shoulder, so why does it matter? Your client might not notice that, the in the middle of the video, the DA stalls out,
mhm,
so you're not cutting anymore. Bullshit.
right,
But if your audience is detailers, you better fucking make sure that shit is
yeah, like some Scorsese.
hits, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, there's you don't know. I kind of stopped doing sunshots because the lights in my shop kind of make the car look,
Yeah, they
better,
emulate. Yeah,
nicer. Yeah. But there were so many times when I used to do sunshots all the time that I would walk around it and then I'd watch it back and I'd be like, shit, there's a smudge on the window. Hang on a second. Let me fix the window real quick and let me go back and reshoot
spending more time
like,
shooting and trying to perfect every small little inklet of things that are going on that you end up wasting your own time. That
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Dude, that's why I don't do it anymore. I do it in the shop because I'm really not posting show and shines on detail sites anymore, or detail groups anymore, you
I mean,
know?
shit, 60% to us is 110 to your client
Absolutely.
all day long. You know, you look
Absolutely.
at it, you're like, damn, dude, I could do so much better.
Absolutely.
And
And
you're like,
and
damn, this
the
looks good.
de and the detailers and detailing for money ain't paying my bills. So, like,
I think Levi Gates said it best. He said, you're not going to pay your bills impressing other detailers.
nope.
He said that a long time ago, and bro, that has stuck with me for. Actually, had that same conversation with Brian Crosby today. Um,
Uh-huh.
I talk to him quite often, and I was like, dude, I don't remember what the conversation was about, and I was like, we're never gonna make money as a business trying to impress other detailers because they're doing the same damn thing we're doing. I
Exactly.
don't, like I said, I don't care what other detailers think. I'm my own competition every day.
Yeah.
All I want to do is just be better for myself, better for my family, and better for my business. That's it. Anything else is irrelevant. I just don't care. It doesn't. It's not that I don't care about the industry. I don't care about other people's perception of me and how I do
Yeah.
things. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
trying to get
because again, at the end of the day, right, Facebook could go away.
Mhm.
We don't have this connection anymore to each other. So at the end of the day, then who are you, doing everything for? Was
Shit,
it
you get
was
rid
it
of that. You get rid of your cell phone camera, and then your 35 millimeter Kodak developing it up to the mail. Check this out.
exactly, exactly. So at the end of the day, it's like, you have to really think like who are you making those posts for? And that's again kind of why I'm like, okay, well, instead of taking these videos and putting them in, you know, insert detail group name here to show off
Right.
for detailers, why don't I post it on Detail Solutions Auto Spa Instagram, Detail Solutions Auto Spa Facebook, and try to get clients out of it versus trying to, have some detailer 2,000 miles away or in another country just give me a thumbs up because I made a car shiny. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I've said it before, like, big fucking deal. We all make cars shiny. That's our job. Like, why do I want to watch another shiny car video? You
Yeah.
know?
And that, part of that too falls into where I'm at with my kind of with my own business. It's like people are like, oh, I don't see you at car shows and networking and stuff like that. It's like, dude, I've been in this 15 years already just as a business. Like, I stare at cars for 60 hours a week. The last thing, and I hate to say this because it sounds so biased, but the last on a Saturday, early as shit, or Sunday, and go to Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
I don't, and it's just, and
I
it's
don't
nothing
either.
cars. It's nothing at the culture. It's just this is my life. This is my business. I breathe this every day. Sometimes I want
Right.
to from it too.
Well, and not only that, dude, but it's like, I mean, I hate to say that I'm kind of jaded now because I am a car guy,
Mhm.
but like cars don't wow me like that anymore.
Me neither.
You
It
know?
it it stops becoming fun when it becomes a business,
Yeah.
and then you start to lose that. Oh, this is so cool! Like, oh, I got this badass car. Like, yeah, there's so many cool ass cars that run through my shop, and I don't eat, dude. I'm just like, dude, I'm barely even excited about owning a fucking Bentley.
Yeah.
All of that, bill. 15 years ago, I'd have been like, shit.
Well, that's like
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Well, that's like,
just
at
get it.
SEMA last year, um, there was a Koenigsegg there or whatever, and I've never seen a Koenigsegg before, and I was like, "Oh, cool, a Koenigsegg," and then I was kinda like, "Okay."
It's wheels and paint, baby. That's all it is.
Exactly, exactly, like
I got to work. Me and Justin Lobato got to work on the Thor and the other one, the Koenigsegg, at
okay.
Monterey Car Week, and that was cool for me because at that point it was a business, but it was still fun because these were like my
Yeah,
real firsthand experience with some super exotics,
right.
crazy, exotic, cool cars, and second time I'd went out there or going to these shows and stuff like that, the excitement just it wasn't there like it used to be because it's like at the end of the day you're still wiping. I could get the same kind of money wiping down a Honda Accord,
Dude, that's what I say all the time, like,
but
don't
I
get
like
me wrong,
cars the same. You can have a Lamborghini or a Honda. I'm still going to treat them the same.
right, and I say it all the time, like, I don't chase those exotic guy clients anymore. In fact, I kinda almost don't want them.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
I like to go for the hot rod enthusiast. I like to go for middle class. I like to go
People
for
that will
blue
spend the
collar
money.
America. You know why? Because those are the people who see the value in their investment and they're
Yep.
willing to put money towards it. Now you get the guys with the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the Koenigsegg's, Pagani's. They got fuck you money.
Mhm.
I don't fucking care. I'll get another one kind of guy. They don't give
Exactly.
a shit. And
Well,
and you stop chasing that demographic of people. It's nice to have that 1% because that
yeah,
inside that 1% of that 1% actually cares to maintain the investment, while the
yeah,
rest of them have so much money they can give two shits what happens to that car because in a
right.
year they're gonna go get another one.
Or or and this is my thought because social media has made a lot more millionaires than ever before, is they're getting those cars because they get a little bit of social media money. They can't really afford them,
Mm-hmm.
so they're not really spending the money on the care because they're probably leased and they're paying like $5,000 a month on a car they can not really afford. And if the social media has a like shit month, they definitely can't afford it, right? Like,
They're not dollars in their bank account.
yeah, exactly. Or on the flip side is like you said, right? They've got fuck you money. And most of the time those are cars that they're not driving daily.
Yeah,
So
correct. Right.
why do I need to spend thousands of dollars on something that I'm just gonna take to Cars and Coffee or date night with the wife?
Or
Like,
just the garage for the rest of the time.
right, right.
Yeah,
Or it's the holder car for the next one. Oh, the new one's gonna come out in 2 years. So I bought this one now so that I can buy the new one in 2 years, like, I mean thankfully I've got a client that just will get his cars ceramic coated regardless, but
yeah.
a lot like so December of 23, he got an Aston Martin, um, the SUV, the DB 707,
Oh, okay.
the DBX 707 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
He got that and he had me correct it and code it and everything. Um, and he goes, "This is just a holder car." And I'm like, "What do you mean a holder car?" And he goes, "Well, I ordered my Range Rover, but it's going to take like a year for them to do. So he got that car in December of 23. And then in December of 24, his Range Rover came in. So he traded in the Aston Martin, then brought me the Range Rover to get done. Yeah. I mean,
I've got a client like that. He's a very, very wealthy attorney. I mean, like wealthy attorney. Um, he had a Urus, and it was projected to be in the shop for about 2 weeks. It was in there a week longer than he wanted, so he went out and bought a brand new Continental GT. He's like, "Can you cook this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Why did you buy this?" He's like, "Oh, my Urus is in the shop. It's been there for a week longer than I wanted, so I just had to get another car to drive." I'm like, "Dude, you got McLarens and everything else in your garage. Like, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Why not?" Right? And I'm like, "I guess."
why
Why
not? Yeah, exactly.
not, right? Like you, I grow up. Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to have that kind of money is cool, but at the same time, like kind of like we were saying, like you get those clients who are either not interested based on the fact that they aren't going to drive it as much,
Yeah.
or they're going to go get another one.
Yeah.
They really don't care because they've just got it like that.
Well, and those are also cars too that I've seen over the years, in the groups and everything where, again, the low entry of or the low level of entry into this industry. And then of course that's all anybody wants to do. And it's, kind of the old saying, your detailers in my group asking how to detail your car kind of thing, right? And it's, "Hey, I've got this Ferrari or this Lamborghini or this whatever, like how do I do it?" And and somebody had said something to me or had asked me one time, like, are there any cars that you would like turn down? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, just talking with Eddie Fusa, a Ferrari F40 would be a car that I would turn down. Eddie's like, there's so many like gaps and vents and things that you can't get water into because then it sits and it creates rust. That car has different composites
Hmm.
that aren't a typical, metal aluminum that you can just
The wheels off of those things are just a task in itself.
right,
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I also think you have to know your boundaries and your limits
Mhm.
with some of these cars too.
I would
Um,
agree 100% with you on that. And kind of like you said, you get a lot of these people who are new into the industry coming in and wanting those things, but don't know what to do with them.
exactly.
And that's scary. That's scary for the client, number one. Number two, it's scary for your business because you essentially don't know that you could tank your company with one wrong move. And if you don't got insurance, you are really up shit creek without a paddle.
And
You
that's the other thing. I mean, a lot of people coming in don't have insurance. Hell,
yeah,
they probably don't even have their business registered with the state that they live in because it's, oh well, who's going to find out?
of entry, and a lot of them fly under the radar. And that's what pisses a lot of people off. And I hear people complain about, I'm like, this guy doesn't have insurance. He doesn't have
Yeah.
this. He doesn't have. Well, did you when you started? Probably not.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I sure as shit didn't. I didn't come in here, balling out and having money. Like everything I have, I own. I own free and clear. I don't have a loan. I don't have anything. Everything was organic.
Nice.
And I own everything,
Yeah.
building and everything. It's mine.
Well,
But
that's
at the same time, point, those are the things that you have to go through. But now, would I have done it differently then? Knowing what I know
absolutely.
today? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was over here putting a fucking rotary to a car and without the proper licensing or insurance. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
knock on wood,
Right.
do it now or even then,
Yeah.
go through that paint job, that could have essentially ruined my business right off the bat.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
That's the scary part that people understand. They want to take on these big jobs, and they don't know their threshold, and the damage that they can essentially create could put such a burden on them that they don't even understand because they're
Yeah.
just trying to make that dollar to take home to their family.
Right. And that's kind of going back to talking to my buddy earlier today about interiors. He was like, well, do something about like taking seats out. And I was like, whoa, 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 buddy, I don't take seats out. And he's like, well, why not? Insurance? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he said, well, how much would it cost for you to upgrade your insurance? And I said, buddy, it's not about the insurance. I said, the thing that a lot of people don't understand is those bolts that are holding your seat in are torque specific.
Hmm.
And once you take them out, they're not made to go back in again. They're,
Exactly right.
you got to get new bolts to put in. So I said, here's the thing. I'm a detailer that takes your seat out. I use those same bolts to put them back in. Now you go and have an accident, your seat comes out, you get severely injured,
You're
and your lawyer goes, well, we need to find out why those seat bolts didn't hold.
responsible.
And then you go, oh, well, Alex detailed my car a couple of months back and he took the seats out. Oh, guess what? We're going to go sue the shit out of Alex,
Mhm. And then
Um,
you're liable and you're on the hook for everything.
exactly.
There goes your business. That's like, a lot of the times, like we don't clean seatbelts. Order
Yeah.
new ones. If they're fucked up, we're not cleaning them. And if
Yeah.
you want me to clean them, you're going to get in front of a camera like I am right now, and you're going to say, I hold Sean Sepulveda and APE Luxury Auto Spa and any holdings that he has not responsible for anything in the incident of an accident. If something
Yeah.
happens, this seatbelt fails, this man is not responsible. Other than that, I won't touch your seatbelts. I'm not
Yeah.
cleaning, I'm not doing it. We will replace them for you.
Well, and it's like I told him with child seats, like I learned at the car wash when you take a child seat out to clean underneath it, behind it, around it, whatever, you don't set it back in because if the client comes back in a hurry and they see that they throw their kid in there. So what I do, because that's what I was always taught at the car wash, is you flip it upside down.
Mhm.
So they know, like they cannot put their child in it. They
Correct.
know,
Exactly right.
and they have to put it in. And my buddy was like, dude, like I never would have thought about any of this stuff,
Mhm.
And I was like, but that's how a lot of detailers are. They just don't think it's, again, hey, I got to feed my family, you
They're
know?
ch they're chasing that dollar. They're trying to turn and burn. They want it out for the next one, and then they need
Yeah.
that money. And a
Yeah.
lot of time people come into this industry as, I wouldn't say an act of desperation, but a means to an end for themselves. And I was one of them. I'm not gonna act like I
Oh,
wasn't.
absolutely.
When I had a new son. I knew I was good at cleaning cars. I was really good because I had OCD hella bad, and I knew I'd do well with it, but it was like, where do I start?
Right.
And I I'd be lying to say that if I wasn't guilty, that I probably mismanaged quite a few of those
Yeah.
different things in the years that I started the business.
But thankfully, you learned along the way.
Yeah,
You
nothing.
cor you self-corrected and you evolved, right? Like we talked earlier about like evolving and getting better and growing and knowledge and all that stuff. And that's the key is at least you learned. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, we were all stupid kids at one point, but we learned from our mistakes and we like, okay, don't touch the hot stove again.
I just read that in my book this morning
Did
about.
you?
It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I was reading that this morning. I was like talking about like the sacrifices of like things like this, and you have to keep learning. It's like touching the hot stove. Do you want to
Yeah.
do it again? Are you really going to do it
Yeah.
again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, but it also like part of that book resonated with me was like everybody wants to see the pinnacle of their own success, and they only want to ask the questions of what gets them to that top tier, but they're not asking what pains are you willing to endure to get yourself there.
Nice.
And that hit me, and after I read that, I was at the gym this morning. I was walking on the treadmill, and I'm like, that makes all the fucking sense in the world. It's like, why don't I ask myself these things? And today I was asking myself, like, what pains am I willing to endure to grow? Instead of asking, like, what is it going to take to get me there? What am I willing to go through to get
Right.
there? What pains am I willing to go through to grow? Fuck, man, that go read that book if you haven't read that book. That book is great so far, man. I can't wait to go home and read some more.
Nice.
It's got me that captivated. Like I want more of that book. I want to know what's on the next page.
Yeah. I listened to a TED Talk last night. It was oh, shoot. Let me look it up real quick because
Sure.
I want to make sure that I don't like fuck up the title and everything like that. So the lady's name is Brene Brown, and it's what's the title? The title is The Power of Vulnerability. Vulnerability. And
Oh,
so she talks about it's only like 20 minutes long, so it's an easy listen. But what she talks about is um everybody's vulnerability, right? Like your shame, your whatever you go through that makes you vulnerable. And she talks about how, because she's a therapist, like and a scientist, I guess, or whatever. Like, so she researches all these things, and she talks about how she was like, I'm gonna take a year, and I'm gonna learn about the power of shame and vulnerability, because that's the thing that inhibits us from, like you said, right? Like, how do we get to the pinnacle of whatever, right? And a lot of times it's our vulnerability. It's our, we don't know how to do it. We're ashamed that we don't know how to do it. Like, all those things. And
that holds us back.
right, exactly. And she's like, I'm gonna take this year, I'm gonna do this deep dive, and I'm gonna, do this whole thing on shame. And she's like, it actually ended up taking me 6 years. And she goes, I realized that I couldn't overcome it. It's just something that we have to deal with, but you figure your ways around it. And it was actually a pretty cool like thing, because the whole thing that kind of got me to there was I saw in Detailing for Money yesterday a detailer, and I don't remember his name, but he was talking, the same old stuff about kind of knowing your worth. He was like, look, this guy called me with a 35-foot trailer, or whatever you saw, right?
Yeah, try to dumb him down, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. He's like, the guy that, this guy was going to pay 500. He was going to charge him
basically try to get
$500.
him to think like he was going to bite to the bottom feeder thing.
Right, right. And
Rat
so
race
he
to the
was,
bottom.
yes. So like it got me thinking again about, you know, Fermani always talking about everybody racing to the bottom, nobody's trying to race to the top.
Mhm.
And that's one of the biggest things in this industry. And so I went on ChatGPT and I asked it, who are the best people to listen to that talk about knowing your worth? And so this Brene Brown lady was like number one. Um, and here, I'll read you. I'll even read you the explanation for that,
Sure.
because it was really, really pretty cool. So Brene Brown, she's best for emotional self worth, vulnerability, and boundaries. Why she stands out. She dives deep into the connection between vulnerability and strength. She's not just inspirational, she's researched, she's real, she's raw. Her TED talk on the power of vulnerability is one of the most watched for a reason. It has like 22 million views on YouTube.
Okay.
Um, and her top quote is, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. So like she was number one, Number 2 was everybody's favorite, Gary V, So, like, you know, so, like so I was like, "Man, like, that would be a really cool podcast to do," like, to do something about knowing your worth. We talk about it all the time. Everybody talks about it all the time. So I was like, ChatGPT, is it possible to reach out to these people and see if they would come onto the podcast, knowing that I'm not a Joe Rogan, I'm not a Gary Vee, I'm not a, whatever. It's a small audience, dedicated audience, whatever. And ChatGPT is like, so here's how you message Brene Brown. Here's how you message Gary Vee. And apparently Gary Vee answers his own Instagram a lot. So it said
Really?
best thing to do is send him a DM. So I was like, can you create a DM that I could send to Gary Vee? So we're just waiting. And then Brene Brown was through her agency. So I sent an email. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I can land a big fish to come on and explain to detailers why they need to know their worth and not be so vulnerable and not be scared and because that's
Don't count yourself out. You got a badass podcast, and
thanks, man.
nobody in their right mind would do it. And at the end,
Yeah.
that maybe
Hopefully.
that lady, they put their socks and shoes on, just like you.
Exactly.
They're human.
But that's the one thing every time I talk to people in this industry that, know better is they always say the detailer's biggest fault is self-confidence. And that's why, I don't know, $200,
Fuck that,
instead of $1,200, you know? It's firm. It's,
dude.
whatever.
I'm set in my way. I
Yeah.
don't, and I tell people when they come in, especially if you're new, I don't talk prices. Our prices are set. Our prices are fair, and this is it. If if you discuss price with me, I will walk you to the front door and walk you out. And I'm very blunt, and I don't hide that to anybody. And I
Mhm.
say I don't say it to be rude. I understand my worth. I know what I bring to the table, and I know what I'm going to offer you. And I'm not going to sacrifice a dollar to make you happy. Like,
Exactly.
that's just not going to work for me.
Well, and
And
that's
15 years I've been in business, it's worked well for me.
right. Right. And that's one of the things I always tell my wife, when, we have our little dips or whatever, and she's like, well, why is everybody else busy? And I'm like, because everybody else is cutting prices to be busy. I see it, I hear it. And
You
it's the
hear
one thing
what's tax, baby, all day long.
right. And it's the one thing I refuse to do because, I learned it a long time ago from one of the owners of the car wash that I worked for when we were discussing pricing. And he always told me, you can always increase your prices, but the minute you lower your prices, you're stuck.
Cheap guy.
Yeah.
So one of my buddies, one of my best friends, actually, he's body paint guy since I was
Mhm.
a kid. My buddies are all like 7, 8 years older than me, so like they've all been body and paint. My best friend, my brother, they're all body and paint frame guys. It's all they've been doing their whole life. So this is where I cut my teeth, was doing this with cars. And one thing that always stuck to me was, like, they were never cheap. They were never inexpensive. They would always say, if you do cheap work, you will be the cheap guy. And I always tell
Exactly.
people, I try to, in terms, I try to mimic myself as, I tell people that I'm like the Louis Vuitton or Gucci of detailing. And I don't say that to sound like I'm better than somebody, but just so they get a reference point of me not being cheap. I'm not
Yeah.
inexpensive. And I tell people, you can go everywhere else and they're going to be less expensive than me. But the experience you get here the second you walk in this door is going to be second to none.
Yeah.
And if you leave this place, it's going to be an even better experience than you did when you walked in, because you're going to
Yeah.
leave just as happy as you did when you walked in. So,
Well,
my company's APE, a perfect experience. And I've
nice.
rounded that on my company for the last 15 years. And
Yeah.
I've always tried to keep that good customer service, you know, uh, top tier, through the roof, and whatever I can do to make my customer happy,
Yeah.
I will do it within reason.
Well, I've always told people, like, you know, I'm not looking for that McDonald's cheeseburger client. I'm looking for that Ruth's Chris cheeseburger client or Chula's cheeseburger client or insert whatever
Mhm.
$30 cheeseburger, like that's the client I'm looking for because
You can't have
again,
taste on a beer budget, baby.
Right. They understand what they're getting. And then here's the other thing too, that people don't understand when they cut their prices or give a deal. The minute you cut your prices, the minute you give a deal, you've now inherited a pain in the ass client
Mhm.
because they're gonna
The people
because
you give the cheapest price to are going to be the pickiest out the gate. How many clients have I
absolutely,
kicked out of the shop, Sergio? A lot.
absolutely. Because they because
Yeah, the cheap
right.
clients definitely want.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
want everything for nothing. And then the
right.
second they do, like you give them what they're asking for, they're going to nitpick you to no end. And
How come you didn't get this? How come that's not done? How
and
come
to be
that?
honest with you, this is why I'm not busy like other shops. You can
Yeah.
have those clients. I luckily, fortunately enough, get to cherry pick.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that because the clients who come in, they spend damn good money and they get damn good results. And I will leave no stone unturned, and I will make sure that we look over that car 3 to 4 different times before it leaves our shop because they are paying a premium, and I'm going to make
Right.
their premium is worth their dollar.
Well, and not only that too, but people that know that, let's say, insert service name here should cost X amount of dollars, right? When they come back to pick it up, it's, oh, hey man, looks great. Let's go ahead and get this taken care of. And they
Mhm.
leave, you know? Now somebody goes, well, I know it should be this much, but come on, dude, can you do it for this? This is all I got. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And then it's like, then they expect the higher price for or the higher price service for the lower price, and then that's where they get nitpicky. So yeah,
Shit, if you ain't got the money and the job's done, your car stays here till you pay.
yeah.
And I don't take checks. I'll throw it on the ground. It's not going to bounce.
You got to be careful with that though. That could be considered grand theft auto.
Mm-mm,
No,
not here, not in California,
okay,
because
because
have signed a documented work order that says you agree to
there
pay
you go.
the
Okay,
amount that you're going to pay that we have put forward for you. If you don't pay that, I'm holding on to your keys. You don't
there
get.
you go. No, that's a good one because I remember one time at the car wash, I was talking to one of the regional managers, and and I said something about, well, if they don't pay, I just won't give them their keys back. And he said, you can't do that. And I said, why? He goes, let me tell you a little story. He goes, I did that one time, and the police showed up and said, that's grand theft auto. Give that guy his keys back, or we're arresting you. And he's like, give the keys back because I wasn't getting arrested for this company's
Yeah,
$200 detail or whatever. So,
right. Yeah, I mean that's the beauty.
but
Behind
yeah, I guess if you have a work order signed,
signed
then
work
yeah,
order.
yeah,
Every client that comes in, we have one in your able, which we have our work order there, which is the job for the day. But we
yeah,
also have a separate item that my clients have to sign that we're not responsible for certain things. You have agreed to pay X amount of dollar on the bill that it will be paid before the car is released. Yada yada yada, and it's just safekeepings. I had one of
yeah.
my attorney's clients come in to sign. He's like, "Who wrote this?" And I told him I had one of my buddies, and he's like, "This is fucking airtight for you, dude." He's like,
Nice.
you can't get away with this. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, dude. So at least I know in that aspect I'm safe.
I did a licensing agreement on ChatGPT for the podcast because
Really?
somebody wanted to kind of license it,
Mhm.
and I showed it to my client that's an attorney, and he's like, where'd you get this made up? I was like, ChatGPT. He's like, holy shit, dude. He goes, I need to start looking at ChatGPT for some stuff for the office. He goes, this is good. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, it's really good. He goes, I would have charged you a bunch of money to write basically kind of the same thing. And he goes, I don't even know if I might have caught some of the things that
Shit, he might be able to get rid of his paralegal and hire Chad.
exactly. I told him, I was like, dude, $20 a month.
Right? Hell yeah, bro. Worth every penny, man. Shit, I mean, getting back to the very beginning of our conversation, it's still in infant stages. This whole entire thing is still a baby. AI is still new.
Oh, dude.
Not brand new, but new. But I mean, can you imagine where this is going to be in 20 years from now? Holy shit. You're not even going to be able to think for yourself anymore.
Good. 20 years, I probably won't be able to think for myself. So it'd be good to have something to do it for me.
The best part about dementia? You get to meet new people every day. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, man. Hey, dude, that's been awesome, man. Hey, I'm
No,
I got to run here shortly. But
you're good. You're good. We're at about time anyway. So, man, dude,
almost 2 hours. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on. You know, I was kind of scrolling through when I was
To this, Alex. I do, man. That was cool. It was
no
nice.
man,
Oh man, you want to jump?
yeah, I was scrolling through Messenger and I was like, man, who have I not like had on? And I was like, I was like, how have I never had Sean on? And I was like, so yeah, so that's why I messaged you and was like, man, I know it's kind of last
I
minute,
certainly
but
appreciate it. It's an honor,
yeah.
man, because I enjoy your podcast, dude. I like
Well,
listening.
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
When you guys are on and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
just viewing what you guys got going on and stuff. But I'm not huge on these things because again, it's like that nervous thing where like back in the day I was so for it. Nowadays it's like I don't know what to say anymore. But this has been genuine one-on-one conversation, and it's not been anything that's like overly thought through.
No,
So
man. And I mean, honestly, like, like middle of last year, when it kind of clicked again, talking about evolution, I needed to evolve the podcast to make it different because it still had a stigma on it.
Mhm.
And I needed to do something different. And, I was just like, this always was supposed to be a get to know the person. And what's the best way to get to know the person other than just having a conversation? Like,
Sure.
I don't need to ask questions to get to know you. I can just have a conversation to get to know you. And that's what's really kind of reinvigorated me, over the last probably 5 or 6 months with the podcast is by doing this. It's more fun.
Mhm.
It's more genuine. And it's easy to go an hour and 50 something minutes, like
I just looked up and I looked at Mosh like, oh shit, I'm
yeah, exactly. Well, dude, it's bedtime here for me. So like,
it is. It's almost 10
yeah,
o'clock there.
yeah, exactly.
Just hop
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I again, thank you. I mean, I genuinely appreciate the invite.
you.
I'm really glad that you thought of me. And, I hope whoever's listening and watching is taking something from the conversation, and, you get to enjoy it, or if you get to rewatch it,
Yeah.
enjoy it. And, man, it's been nice, man. So thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it was a great podcast, it was all because of me. If you don't like this one, it was all Sean's fault because he was a shitty guest.
Kid, I've been blamed for everything, so it's all my fault.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm going to let you run. It's been a
That's fine.
pleasure. Thank you again. I
Thank you.
genuinely